Doug, thanks for coming on, my friend. How are you?
What's up, Doug?
Good, guys. BJ Basham reporting for duty.
I like that. You know, actually, after we had Doug on last week, somebody gave him that nickname. I don't know why. Maybe the man has a fetish with you or something. I don't know, Doug. Hey, let's get right into it because we don't always have a ton of time here. As you know, Doug, we've been talking about this Stella Emanuel, this doctor that Donald Trump retweeted. She claims she has a cure for the virus. Well, she claims a lot of things. Sex dreams lead to infectious disease, demon sperm. I hope I don't have that. Some women would claim maybe I do. Alien DNA. Maybe she's been probed. She talks about exorcism. Gays are terrorists. She thinks the virus could be prayed away. JD's point, and I'm not going to speak for JD. You guys can get into this, but JD did say just because she said all those things doesn't mean she's not credible when it comes to the hydroxychloroquine. What do you say to that, Doug?
Well, far be it for me to defend this Dr. Emanuel. I mean, she said you can develop health problems from having dream sex with witches and demons.
She did.
I don't know if that's true, but I can confirm from firsthand experience it is true if you have sex with them in person.
But I'm a real doctor.
I mean, seriously, Doug, I can't believe, are we even talking about this?
I know. I thought that green rash would never go away.
I mean, the president of the United States retweeted this doctor in a press conference yesterday, called her, quote, a good doctor, tried to give her credibility, and then when she was pressed on it by a CNN reporter, he walks off. What do you make of that?
Well, the first thing he said was they were credible, respected doctors. And then when Caitlin Collins from CNN called him on it and told him about her wacky theories, he said, oh, I don't know anything about it. Well, a minute before that, you just said she was a credible doctor and respected.
Well, he didn't know anything about her and her wacky theories. Doesn't mean she's not. He may know she's a credible doctor, but that she, says things like demon sperm and alien DNA and having sex and getting alien herpes and, Martian sexual diseases or whatever it is.
And you're going to defend that.
Well, I mean, how is that related to her being a doctor? I don't understand how that means that
not
what
affiliated with any hospitals in Houston. And, that's another thing. Houston is one of the hardest hit areas in the world right now. And she's down speaking in front of the Supreme Court about a cure for the coronavirus, which doesn't exist. If she's that good a doctor, she should be in Houston doing a job because that's where she's needed.
Well, again, she said she had 370 patients. She gave them, and again, she didn't say this is like a panacea, whereas if this person is about to die, you give them this combination of drugs and it's a cure at that point. She said that if it's given early enough, hydroxychloroquine with azithromycin and zinc collectively, and the same thing that Vladimir Zelenko said, the doctor in New York City who I think has treated 2,000 patients at a very, very successful rate. She said that it is a cure under those circumstances. Now, maybe using the word cure can be a stretch, but if it is a cure, is it not worth? I mean, if this even is 80% true, even if the number is 350 out of 370 or 330 out of 370, why would we not want to look into this to say, hey, maybe we can all take hydroxychloroquine as a prophylactic? And if you get the virus, the first thing you do is you go to your doctor or you go OTC and you buy hydroxychloroquine. You have a chance of this virus not getting worse. Why would us as Americans, considering what this virus has done to our country, why would we not want that? I don't understand
that. That. I mean, it's a difficult question, but here's what I don't understand. You're saying if what she's saying is true when you don't believe everything else she says. You know in your heart she's a kook, but you're so desperate to defend Donald Trump.
Has nothing to do with Donald Trump at all. Has nothing to do with Donald Trump at all, Doug.
Has everything you know to be true about this Dr. Emanuel.
You know what it has to do with? It has to do with places like Las Vegas that are being just decimated economically by this virus. With the fact that the Miami Marlins had 19 players and coaches come down with COVID last week, and they almost canceled the MLB season. That's what it has to do. It has nothing to do. Well, no. A cure for the coronavirus has everything to do with this doctor.
Doug, go ahead.
And to do with those particular circumstances. It has nothing to do with I don't care if Bernie Sanders made this recommendation. If there is a cure, whether it's a Democrat or a Republican or, it could be a Satanist for all I care. Mm-hmm. If there is a legitimate cure.
Which there's not.
If there is see, Brian, you don't know that for a fact.
According
you have no idea.
According to all the specialist doctors and scientists throughout the country that are not right-wing kooks in America's frontline.
Don't
come on me. There's no cure.
Right-wing kooks?
Yes.
Come on, Brian.
Okay, so
you're saying
Doug,
you're saying that remdesivir, a drug
I don't want to
that is
debate you.
300 times more expensive than this particular drug is being touted for no reason whatsoever. You don't think there is some type of financial incentive involved?
JD,
there obviously is.
Okay, I don't want to debate you.
Okay.
I made my case.
You said there's not.
Well, there isn't. Doug,
you inserted yourself into that particular question, Brian.
Okay, so let's ask Doug now. Doug, is there a cure for the coronavirus?
No.
Thank you.
Here we get into this scenario where defenders of Donald Trump are isolated inside his media bubble and echo chamber with all the doctors and scientists and virologists and immunologists in the world that are doing everything they can to counter this virus. If this hydroxychloroquine was such a miracle drug, don't you think they would have found it by now? Everybody says, it's a big plot to hurt Donald Trump. This is an international pandemic, and everybody is doing everything they can to control it.
Yeah, and Doug, there are a lot of other
to hurt Donald Trump.
There are a lot of other countries that are using this drug.
Ignore every international aspect of this and play the eternal victim. Oh, you just hate Donald Trump. Well, yeah, I do, and there's a lot of reasons for it, and this is one of them.
Right, but you're saying that I'm trying to protect Donald Trump in this media bubble. That's not the case at all. Again, I don't care who comes up with this. I know this. I know this for a fact. Countries that use this, that have used this drug for malaria, don't have coronavirus problem. Central America, this drug is being given door to door. In some countries, it's OTC. In India, they're using it as a prophylactic for all doctors. There's a lot of countries that are using this drug.
Doug is asking you how you know that.
Worldometers.com. If you can actually look at the data there, if you look at the countries that have used the drug hydroxychloroquine for malaria and lupus and other diseases like that, and rheumatoid arthritis, they are not having a problem with this virus like the United States is.
Go ahead, Doug.
They're using it for malaria. And further to your caller earlier in the first hour who said he was given hydroxychloroquine, yes, for malaria. He wasn't given it for COVID-19.
But that doesn't mean that it's not preventing someone from getting COVID-19.
The majority.
There was a study that came out yesterday, Doug, that if you're over 6 feet tall,
to people with COVID-19, it messes with their cardiovascular system. If you are young and healthy and you are going overseas to a malaria-ridden country, that's a whole different ballgame.
Go ahead, JD.
The topic is done. Let's go to the next question.
Okay. Well, do you agree with Doug?
Of course not. Why would I agree with that whatsoever? I'm saying why is this virus not spread exponentially in countries that have been using this drug to fight malaria for X amount of time? Why are other countries using this drug as well? Why suddenly in the United States is this drug vilified and it's not everywhere else? Why in France was there multiple studies done that were extremely successful? To me, it comes down to the money. It comes down to following the money.
Hold on.
The other drug, the other therapeutic, remdesivir, is again it's actually 320 times more expensive than hydroxychloroquine is. Hydroxychloroquine is big pharmacy's nightmare because it's so inexpensive.
So hold on, I have something.
Every
Doug,
virologist and doctor,
same with the vaccine,
scientist and immunologist in this country is under the thumb of big pharma, and it's all just a big plot.
I didn't say every.
None of them have our actual interests at heart.
I didn't say every. I've actually named Dr. Vladimir Zelenko, the doctors that were at the White Coat Summit, the Yale epidemiologists. There have been a lot of different doctors that have spoken highly about this particular drug. So it's not every single doctor.
If it was that successful,
there's
why
differing
isn't
opinions.
The rest of the world doing it.
Yes, exactly.
They are. The rest of the world is using this drug.
So
the United States has the worst problem by far in the world, outside of maybe Brazil. And by the way, the president of Brazil, Jair Bolsonaro, he used this drug as well. The second he was diagnosed with the virus.
By the way,
now he's fine.
You mentioned France, a study of 20 patients that was, by the way, not the gold standard, which was not randomized. You brought up that. I brought up some very, very, very good studies that were done in this country by some of the most reputable organizations. Doug, let's talk a little bit.
Brian, if I can interrupt just for a second, forgive me for so doing, but in the first hour, you mentioned Trump not saying anything to Putin about the bounties.
Correct.
They released part of an interview that Jonathan Swan from Axios did, and he asked Trump if in the at least 8 calls he's had with Putin since March, if he brought it up, and he said no. We talked about other things.
There you go.
And when Swan said to him, but Russia is providing the Taliban with weapons, Trump did the same thing he did when O'Reilly asked him if he respected Putin, and he said yes, and O'Reilly said, Putin's a killer, And Trump said, well, we got a lot of killers here, too. You think we're so innocent?
There you go. And we're going to talk about that in hour number 3.
Swan said to him, but Putin is providing the Taliban with weapons. You know what Trump said to him? Well, we provided the Taliban with weapons when they were fighting Russia.
Yeah,
this guy is
disgusting.
a traitor to this country, period.
Doug, you're not going to hear any argument from me on that. I agree. And by the way, we're going to talk about that Axios interview coming up in hour number 3. So let's go to yesterday's coronavirus briefing where Donald Trump wondered why Dr. Fauci has higher approval ratings than he does. Let's listen to this audio.
So it sort of is curious. A man works for us, with us very closely, Dr. Fauci and Dr. Birx, also highly thought of. And yet they're highly thought of, but nobody likes me. It can only be my personality, that's all.
Yeah, that must be what it is. Doug, what's your response?
You are correct, sir.
What's your response to that, Doug?
Well, my response to Donald Trump would be integrity, decency, honor, a lifetime of achievement doesn't rub off.
I agree. JD, would you agree with that? You've gone after Dr. Fauci on plenty of times on this show. Would you agree with what Doug just said?
I think Dr. Fauci is turning himself into a bit of a attention getter. He likes a spotlight whenever he can get it, whether it's throwing out the worst pitch in Major League Baseball history or being photographed for In Style magazine. He definitely enjoys the spotlight at this point.
He's been doing what he's been doing for 40 plus years.
People definitely have a problem with Donald Trump. So he's never done anything like that before in 40 plus years. Now is his time to shine, Brian, and he's definitely taking it.
Hold on a second. That's not true.
People definitely have.
What do you mean now is his time to shine? Did you see what he did with the AIDS pandemic? Did you see the award that George W. Bush gave? What are you talking about?
He's gone for 40 years.
Brian, there has been a new.
Now is his time to shine.
Yes, there's been a new baseball card created for Dr. Fauci because of that. He is getting mainstream press attention.
Were you alive during the AIDS pandemic? Do you know what he did during that time?
Not academia.
Go ahead,
attention,
Doug.
Brian.
Go ahead,
and yeah,
Doug.
people do definitely dislike Donald Trump's personality, so that's not a surprise.
Doug, JD seems to think that Fauci is just an attention getter. No, believe it or not, he's not talking about Donald Trump. What do you make of that, Doug?
Well, as far as imposing on the cover of the magazine, he didn't go looking for that. They asked him. They also asked him to throw out the first pitch, unlike the Yankees, who didn't ask Trump to throw out the first pitch. As far as him taking advantage of it, I think Fauci realizes he's caught between a rock and a hard place and a boss that is ignorant and is doing everything he can to still downplay this virus, witnessed by the hearing yesterday when he supported this quack Dr. Emmanuel. And I think Fauci figures if there's other ways I can get the truth out to the American people, I'm going to do it. I don't have a problem with it at all.
And so do you think that Donald Trump actually did not take hydroxychloroquine for 14 days? You think he just lied about that?
Of course he didn't.
You don't think he took it?
No.
You don't think he took it, and you think that when he said that I didn't feel what he said was I didn't feel any different at all. I didn't feel any different at all, and I'm here right now. You think he's just lying about that?
Of course. He lies about everything, JD.
Why do you think so? We've had what? We've had
that should be your default position for everything Donald Trump says, to assume he's lying.
Okay, that's a great way to go through life. But so Kimberly Guilfoyle has gotten the disease. The head
by the way, so did Louis Gohmert went into the Commons.
Yeah, it's
the House.
What a surprise! Every single it seems like every single person nationwide who speaks out against masks and against the disease just seems to randomly get it. What a surprise! It's happened. It's happened I think 12 or 13 times.
So the government is giving it to them on purpose.
I'm just saying, Brian.
What are you saying?
I'm just saying it's happened. It's very coincidental to me that it's happened that many times.
So you think it's a
although after about 4 or 5 times a coincidence becomes actually.
So you think Donald Trump
numerically impossible.
You think Donald Trump supporters
are?
No, anyways, can I just finish the question?
What I'm saying, I haven't gotten a chance to finish.
Where are you going with this?
Yeah, where are you going?
No,
with
what
this?
I'm saying is a lot of people around Donald Trump have gotten this virus, but he has not gotten the virus.
And your point?
Why do you think that is?
What's your point?
I think it's the first time in recorded history that a virus has actually rejected a human being. Even the coronavirus has standards.
So you don't think that he has taken this as a prophylactic and it's protected him from the virus, and you think he's just lying about it?
Only if it has any effect at all, it has to be ongoing. You don't take it for 2 weeks and then the effect lasts.
All right, so let's talk about a Republican now, and that would be the Republican governor of Maryland, Larry Hogan. So the Republican governor was on CNN yesterday. I believe it was with Anderson Cooper, and he was asked what goes through Trump's mind during this whole situation with Dr. Stella Emanuel, so on and so forth. Keep in mind that this is a Republican, the governor, of Maryland. Have a listen to Larry Hogan's response.
Anderson, I'm not sure I'm qualified to opine on what goes through the president's head or why he decides to say the things that he says. I'm not sure there's a logical explanation for it, quite frankly, and I don't think it's helpful. We had a call with the White House today that was led by the vice president, and we had Dr. Birx and Dr. Fauci and Dr. Hahn from the FDA and the whole coronavirus task force. So it was a pretty productive meeting, talking about some of the concerns about the spiking virus, and the federal government was putting out advice for states that had to start shutting down things, and talking about 21 states that were hot zones and where we had to be cautious. And then the president says just the opposite. I thought he was starting to get back on track with a better message in the past week or so when he started to say that the virus has the potential to get much worse for the first time. And when he was wearing a mask and tweeting out that wearing a mask is patriotic, and I thought we were turning a corner. He had prepared remarks and was doing okay. And then, he just went off to the same kinds of things. And it's one of the concerns I've had, and I can't explain it. I don't think it's helpful. But the rest of the team is kind of on one message, and then the president says sometimes almost the complete opposite.
That is he has been one of Donald Trump's staunch supporters for a long time. Doug Basham, what do you make of that?
He actually came out and said that he wanted a kinder Republican Party a couple of days ago, Brian.
Doug Basham.
Larry Hogan did.
Doug Basham, what do you make of those statements that he just made about the president?
Well, that's probably as good as we can expect from a Republican. I mean, you could tell all the while he was talking that he was walking softly on eggshells so as to not offend Trump too much. But if you read between the lines, it's the exact same thing we're saying. Trump gets up in his presser yesterday and says, there's so many parts of the country that are corona-free. Meanwhile, the New York Times got a hold of a document where it says that 21 states are now in the red zone.
Including Nevada.
Is right. Trump says the exact opposite of what his own what his own task force says, because to this day, he will not take it seriously. He is desperate to reopen, to try and get the economy doing something.
Has nothing to do with
allow him to brag about in his campaign.
Has nothing to do with that.
Nothing for the health of the American people. He cares only for his reelection and grip on power.
So right now, Doug, the estimation is that 60 million people worldwide, this comes from World Bank, by the way, are going to be forced to be in extreme poverty. Since this pandemic started, 10,000 kids worldwide, in addition to to those that died before, have died every month from malnutrition. The economy needs to come back. The world needs to open, because we can't just sit here not being able to operate. I mean, right now what's happening to the middle class nationwide, I mean, if you're a small business owner and you're upper middle class or middle class nationwide, I mean, if you're a restaurant, there's a 60% chance that you won't reopen. If you're a gym, 40% chance. If you're a shop, 50% chance. If you're a beauty salon, 40%. You're going to have
JD,
so many businesses nationwide that are not going to be able to reopen. And they're going to have to. And if they can't reopen, they'll have probably a hard time paying their own personal rent, feeding their family.
Let Doug
they're going to have to rely on the federal government, and so you're going to have probably 20 million or probably 10 million more people nationwide that are going to be relying on the federal government, while the federal government, the Federal Reserve will be completely shot. Our dollar will be dropped because of all the money. I'm not finished yet, Brian.
All right, keep going. Don't let Doug respond. Go ahead.
I haven't finished yet.
I know, but
fine. I guess respond to my 3/4 statement, because Brian is so pressed for time.
All right, no,
JD, it may only have been a 3/4 statement, but it was a good one.
Oh, thanks, Doug.
I mean, it was a good one. It needed no more. You made your point. My only question to you would be, why is that the case? Why 6 months into this pandemic, when other countries around the world have reopened and have reopened safely, why can't we? Why are all those stats you told me true? And the only honest answer is Donald friggin' Trump.
But Donald Trump was going off the advice of Anthony Fauci, the National Institute of Health chief virologist who worked with the last 6 administrations.
Months,
Donald Trump's not a doctor.
Wear a mask. Stay at home. What is Trump saying? Well, I'm not going to wear one.
Yeah, but I mean, how do you not place blame
and apply that to today? Trump has had plenty of time and plenty of other advice since. He's still not taking it. Yesterday, he still wasn't taking it.
How do you not apply that to the 15 to 26 million that protested in many cases, chest to chest, some masked, some not, that were looting, rioting, whatever you want to call it, after George Floyd was killed. How do you not factor that in as well? To why the cases have. Well, you're saying that it's about opening early and Donald Trump being at fault for it
because they didn't take the virus seriously either on the advice or the example set by their head guy.
I would actually argue that the second that those protests took place and cases increased, we should have said, hey, any single congregation outside, inside, whatever, of more than 50 or even 25 people should not be allowed. I mean, you literally in Philadelphia, you had 60,000 people. In Houston, you had 30,000 people. In Florida, you had a lot of situations. In Hollywood, you had 40,000 people. And then suddenly cases just spike in California. They spike in Florida. They spike in Texas. There's obviously a correlation that's not being talked about. The only thing that's happening is governors are being blamed for it, and so is Trump.
Right on Fox News that the reason for the spike in cases was the Memorial Day opening. So there's no real argument about that anymore.
Yeah, and as I've tried to be as consistent as I can, anybody who hasn't practiced social distancing certainly is responsible. But it starts with the President of the United States. He is the leader, and he is the one that sets the foundation.
By the way, yesterday he did say that you should be social distancing in that. You know that, right?
He did say that yesterday. So that makes everything all better. Thank God for him that he did that. All right. Anyway, Doug, I appreciate you coming on as always. It's always a great debate. I will never call you BJ Basham, just for the record. I do call a lot of the Donald Trump supporters. I do say that they have Trump fellatio syndrome. If they say I have Trump derangement syndrome, and I tell them to take off the Donald Trump knee pads. But Doug, in all seriousness, looking forward to your show on Friday, 2 to 4 p.m., my friend. I'm sorry, on Saturday. I apologize. 2 to 4 p.m. on Saturday. Thank you so much for joining us as always, Doug. Please be safe out there. And if you do have issues with your demon sperm, you could always see some doctors to take care of that, okay?
I'm working on it.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Doug.
Doug's the best. Thanks,
Take care,
Doug.
guys. Stay safe.
Take care, Doug. Doug is awesome. He is the best.